Okay. Good morning, December 22nd, our last open session of 2022. And wishing everyone both a happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas in just a few days. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about the weather because it looks like Santa's going to be challenged with some freezing weather out there, both in Carroll County and around the world. But more to follow on that. As always, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, and like I shared, I had a weather call yesterday to determine whether we're going to be on time or not, and we determined it was going to stay on time. We're right at the cusp. I think it was 33, 34 degrees pretty much across the county. I know the schools were at a 2-hour delay. We have a weather call this afternoon at around 4. For the same issues because of the freezing weather that's expecting, and it's not just freezing but going down into the teens as a high throughout tomorrow. So we'll track that. And just a reminder, Carroll County government is working through 12 o'clock tomorrow, and we will close Carroll County government at 12. So that's also going to balance in some of the decision necessary because a 2-hour delay may not be necessary or of value. But also just a reminder on that for employees, especially, I know they get the word, but safety comes first. And if they feel unsafe getting out of the driveway, talking to the supervisor and doing what's right. Not necessarily the right thing, and there's a difference sometimes. So, okay, let's walk right into Priority Carroll. Commissioner Guerin, what's on your mind?
Oh, thank you. I'm going to spend a couple minutes this morning talking about maybe not the happiest issue to discuss, but I think it's timely. I want to discuss the issue of fentanyl in our community. It's interesting because I want to talk about this morning, and I got on the internet, and there's no lack of information regarding this really what's a pandemic in our country, in our state, in our county. And there's a lot of information out there. As a parent, it's easy to get lost in it all. I wanted to come up with some great talking points, something really snappy to discuss and let parents know what they can do and where to go and what to do and what to say. And it's important because, people are struggling in our community, financially, economically, spiritually. People are hurting in the country in terms of financially. People are struggling with addiction already. And you do have a lot of young people coming home for college. People are congregating. People are celebrating the holidays, being home, and people make bad decisions. And what I'm learning about fentanyl is that it's all you have to do is make one bad decision. And I know it's not the most, there's a lot of dangerous drugs out there, but it is very scary. So I wanted to discuss that just briefly because parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, nieces, nephews, it's time. It's time to have a conversation with the people that you love about this drug. Why is this drug so dangerous? Again, 1 milligram. This is 1 milligram next to a penny. That's all it takes to kill you. 1 milligram of fentanyl equals 50 milligrams of heroin, 67 milligrams of OxyContin, and 100 milligrams of morphine. So seeing pictures like this as a parent, and then I'm finding pictures with, trying to differentiate between a real OxyContin and a fake one with fentanyl in it. And the irony is there's no difference whatsoever in these pictures. So what's the takeaway for parents? I'm a parent. I have teenagers. Do not be afraid to have these conversations. You need to have them right now. You do not need to be an expert. You do not need to spend hours on the internet trying to do what I did, coming up with some snappy statistics and because they're all bad. They're all extremely, extremely bad. The ones I pulled just yesterday, as of December 22nd, the monthly drug overdoses of adolescents has tripled from 2019. Fentanyl was involved with 84% of deaths, overdose deaths in adolescents. Up to 25% of adolescents' overdose deaths constituted pills. I mean, these drugs are in all kinds of other things. You need to have these conversations with your kids. You need to let them know that unless it's from an Advil or Tylenol bottle from Walmart, or it's a prescription drug that's to them, if they put it in their mouth and they don't know what it is, it could kill them. So not the merriest of message for my fellow Carroll Countyans, but it's important. You'll be hearing more from me about this issue. My colleagues were nice enough to place me on the opioid, the policy group. It's a state level group. So I'll be working with that group closely. The Carroll County Health Department, I want to thank them. They've actually already reached out to me with information and what the plans are for meetings. But again, not to bring a downer on this holiday season, but this is a serious concern. And parents, you need to have these conversations with your kids now, because we do not want to be looking at some sort of, God forbid, these turn into mass casualty events with this fentanyl. So anyway. Not a happy note, but I thought I wanted to bring it up. I felt like I needed to bring it up, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you. It's been a very busy week, as we've all had some interesting schedules with the holidays, which is always a wonderful thing this time of year. But this past week, on Saturday, I was involved with the Wreaths Across America event, as well as a number of my other commissioners. I was at the historic Ellsworth Cemetery, which is right side out of Westminster city limits. The interesting historical note for those in the community is this cemetery was created December 21st, 1876, when 6 African-American Union soldiers filed to incorporate the cemetery. Today there is 26 veterans who have served from the Civil War, World War I, and World War II, who are among the Carroll County residents interred there. I would suggest to anybody, do a little deep diving, look at some of the history in our county that you might not be aware of. There's a lot of things you'll learn out there. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank Babylon Vault Company and all the many volunteers and partners for the Wreaths Across America event this weekend. It was 38 locations in Carroll, and hopefully maybe we'll see some additional locations in the next year moving forward. This past Tuesday, Commissioner Kyler and I attended the Veterans Advisory Council Holiday Luncheon and Meeting. Always good to interact with veterans in our community and learn what's on their mind and what we're doing to assist them in a variety of ways. It's also good that we can all get together and look to bolster support for our veterans in our community. Also on Tuesday, I attended the Boys and Girls Club of Westminster's Kenora Break Christmas Party. Very fortunate that we have a lot of individuals, companies, corporations in our community. Kenora Break does a fantastic job. They and their employees sponsor this event every year. If you ever have a day where you're questioning all the negativity in the world around you, you just need to watch these kids have total happiness and joy in this whole process of opening Christmas gifts. It's very easy for all of us to have those days where there's a lot of stress and just challenges, but to watch this level of enthusiasm from young kids, that many of them have challenging situations in their own lives, and to give them a little bit of joy, it's very nice to see. First Federal Financial Credit Union was also a partner of that this year. But it's not just gifts that they get. What they do with this event is when they come in, the question that they're asked to each child is they want to know something they want, something they need, something to eat and something to read. So it's not just about a specific gift. It's everything from books to, I've seen bicycles, you name it. But it's just it's a nice thing to see in our community. It's nice to know that we all as a community work together and give back. It's truly insightful, and if that doesn't put you in a good holiday moment or just any moment of the year, nothing else will. So, but it was fantastic to see that 205 kids were supported this year through that. And I would just say to anyone, help those in your community and try to be a beacon of light at times when there may seem like there isn't any. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Kyler.
And like everyone said before me, a busy time of the year for everybody, not just us. I think a couple things have happened from the commissioners in the last few weeks and from the county that may have not happened other years. We did the commissioners' welcome session at Exploration Commons, and that was really a nice event. And I think people got to talk a lot and share a lot, and that was super. And then I'll skip to much later in the week, and this week, did the employee holiday luncheon at the Shipley Arena, and that was all awesome. And I don't want this to sound like a negative. I mean it as a positive. It was so nice to see so many of the employees having fun, smiling, and it just seemed like everybody had a great time. So I want to compliment whoever come up with the idea to do that. That was awesome. Like most of the other ones setting up here did Wreaths Across America. I've always done it at Emmanuel Lutheran, and Babylon Vaults is just awesome with giving this stuff out, and people forget about the things that happen behind the scenes. But they had everybody pick up wreaths. They did a little bit of training. They had people, at least where we were, they had people in pickups at cemeteries picking up the empty boxes, picking up the leftovers. It's just they do an awesome amount of work to make that happen, and it's great. At our church, we had 8 veterans place the wreaths on the stands before people started doing it, and maybe half the people did a wreath for their family member, did one and took off, but the other half, we have 2 cemeteries, and they just kept looking, and you'd see a kid run back. I found one that wasn't marked, and it's just great to see everybody into the veterans. I did go to the Carroll County Public School Central Office holiday luncheon. I wasn't sure they'd let me in the building anymore, but I did get in, and I had a little bit to eat. Commissioner Gordon mentioned the Veterans Advisory Meeting. That's just a great group, and so active, and so many things going on. And it was interesting, and I don't know if they attended before, but Commissioner Rothstein had an email about cleaning up cemeteries and why it's private property and county forces can't do it. And Freedom Lines was there, and he just raised his hand and he goes, "We'll do it."
Myron.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just so many of these groups, it's like they're afraid to ask. But when they asked in Carroll County, you get awesome responses. I mentioned the holiday luncheon. And last Saturday I went to Town of Hampstead's Christmas party, which is in my area, and that was a lot of fun. They had a big group there, and it was really nice. And then we have family coming in from Denver and Durham, North Carolina, and one of the 2 flights got canceled, and so they're figuring out flights, and everybody's having trouble with that depending on what part of the country they're coming from. It's amazing. Southwest, who I love, they said, "We warned you we might cancel them." Well, what were you supposed to do? Change to another one that might be canceled, or do whatever? They don't do it very often, but when they do, it's tough. Been to a lot of high school wrestling, and it's just great to see the kids in in that sport, in basketball, in all the other sports going on now. So many concerts going on, and it's just so nice to see active families and kids. And I hope all families have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a happy holiday, whichever one your family chooses to celebrate. And like the last week or so, that's going to be a blur. It's we have kids coming in today, and I think they're going back Christmas Day in the evening, and it's just going to be a snap of the finger, and they're gone again. But we love it. So everybody, happy holidays.
Cool. And Commissioner Vigliotti.
Thank you, Commissioner. So first of all, I want to associate myself with Commissioner Garen's timely comments, and I thank you for raising that very critical point. And of course, in keeping with those comments, I also want to thank the Health Department, the Sheriff, the State's Attorney, and local agencies for what they are doing. And again, to Commissioner Garen as well, thank you for being on top of this. Like everybody else here, I participated in Reads Across America over the weekend. I was at St. Paul Cemetery at the edge of Uniontown, and I think we probably had somewhere between 60 and 100 people in attendance. It was a beautiful ceremony, wonderful people, and it really is an honor to be a small part of something that has such significance and such meaning, especially at this time of year. Locally, Union Bridge is preparing for their awesome New Year celebration beginning on December 31st at 7 p.m. At the Carnival Grounds. Again, it will include live music and fireworks and promises to be an awesome time. I had the privilege on Tuesday of having some of my family come in to visit the county offices. They met a lot of people here. They were amazed and so pleased to have come in and to have met everybody. They had a wonderful time, and that included my almost 4-year-old nephew. I was showing him how to operate the little key cards, the little badges that you wave in front of the devices to get into certain doors. And so when we got to the lobby of the commissioner's office, I gave him my badge, and I said, okay, go wave this in front of the little device. And so he holds the card in one hand and he waves with the other hand. There's my sister took a video of that, and I will try to get that for everybody. And Commissioner Ralston, even though you were not able to meet them, I certainly will make sure that you do as soon as possible. I think you'll get a kick out of them. And last but not least, with the holidays underway, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year. And I pray God the best for everybody in this county. We really are blessed to live where we do, and I am genuinely honored to be serving with these 4 decent and honorable men. So thank you very much.
So I think, and I appreciate with the ID cards, I think Sheriff DeWeese and I would be teaching him how to pick a lock, but that's different.
Or just kick it in.
Or just
right?
kick it in, just break it. But a lot has been said, and I appreciate a lot of the comments. It's very interesting with the 4 of you and taking Priority Carol in a direction that is personal to you, and I like that. It was mentioned about the boards and commissions. The opioid board is very, very important for our community, and I'm really appreciative of the commitment that all 5 of us are making on all the boards and commissions within the county and the region. It says a lot, it means a lot, and nobody knows Carroll County better than Carroll Countyans, not the 5 of us up here at the dais. So having Carroll Countyans on the boards, and having us be in receipt of that information is huge. The Race Across America, I was in Hampstead with Mayor Nevin. It was their inaugural opportunity to do it. I think there was 270, give or take, veterans interred there from the Civil War forward. And it was cold that morning, and on Saturday morning, so I had a really lengthy speech, and I said, well, heck with this speech. I said, I'm going to give you, emotional intelligence, read the audience. So I said 3 words, and I'm going to talk about 3 words. 2 of them go together, and then a third. The 2 that went together are inalienable rights. And the reason I shared that is every veteran that's interred there had given up their, inalienable rights to allow us as Americans to have ours. And we do that also here as a Board of County Commissioners by raising our hand. There are certain things that we recognize that we can and cannot do. But those in green that are interred, do that very specifically to allow us as Americans. That's why when people thank me for my service, I thank them for giving me a reason, because it's pretty cool. And if you listen to the Ukrainian president last night in the joint session, he recognized that just as well, about how powerful we as American, are, as not just a country, but as a people. And he kept referring back to the community. Apologize if I went on the pulpit on that. Yeah, that's the Wreaths Across America. Then I went to the Senior Inclusion Program over at Westminster Senior Center. Really cool opportunity to participate in a luncheon for those. If I don't know if you can get that any bigger there, Chris. Let me see. There we go. Get a little bit bigger. It was a lot of fun. And the guy in the middle, the light green, he stood in front of the tree and he kept saying, "Okay, picture time, picture time, picture time." I was like, "Okay, we're getting a picture." And then as soon as the picture was over, he goes, "Okay, I'm done." And the guy in the back, he has a Ravens hat, and he was telling me how bad the Ravens were and how Harbaugh needs to leave. But that's just his opinion. I'm not saying that's mine. But it was a great opportunity. Westminster Senior Center, the program, our citizen service just does a great job for our entire community. I attended the Board of Education budget work session yesterday, and it's important. They are recognizing the requirements from the blueprint that's coming down their way. They are in a challenging time. They are doing the best they can with the information they have. We, as the board, will meet with them jointly in mid to late January to understand best what decisions they need to make, and it's going to be a challenge. That's my expectation. But running Carroll County is a team sport. Whether you're the Sheriff's Department, the Board of Education, the CCPS, us up here, it's all a team sport, and we have to all be, the best word I could use is alignment in that. I apologize. I did say there were 3 words that I was Wreaths Across America. The third word was legacy, and those that are interred maintaining their legacy. And the way you maintain their legacy is by, before placing a wreath, saying their name out loud, not mumbling it, and always remembering, because there are a lot of folks that have passed this past year. Mr. Lippy, a couple weeks ago, talk about a man with a significant legacy. So the more we talk about him and his family, the more powerful an individual like that, is a part of Carroll County. And so anybody who's been blessed to have met the gentleman and been around him and his family understands that, but saying his name, is very important. The last thing, again, appreciation for the men and women in blue, in red, and green, especially that are being put into harm's way, whether it's being done by the environment or done by direct action. We just have to recognize that when people are, cozy in their house this weekend where it's going to be sub, 30s, there's folks out there allowing us to be in that house, in that cozy house. So just keep that in mind. Wishing everyone a continued happy Hanukkah. It's the 5th night tonight, and a very Merry Christmas. And looking forward to a happy, healthy, good, prosperous New Year. So, okay. And it was, somebody said Freedom Lions Club, because I belong to them. It was Myron Horn. He's awesome. And I'm part of the veterans, subgroup within the Freedom Lions Club. So he sent me an email, and I think we're going to take that on. So that's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get going. Sheriff, what do you want to talk to us today about?
I got a lot to talk to you about,
I'm
but
sure
today,
you do.
I'll stick with what's on the agenda.
And feel free to talk about Priority Carol as well.
We suffered and I sent the 5 of you an email, we suffered a tragic loss yesterday of what would be an extended family member. So you know I'm running my 6th Police Academy class at the former North Carroll High School, and unfortunately one of our deputies that with the Garrett County Sheriff's Office tragically died in a crash yesterday in Allegheny County on his way home from our police academy. 31-year-old Corey McElroy. He was a U.S. Marine. He had just started with the Garrett County Sheriff's Office. He was heading home from Manchester. He had just gotten to the housing up there and grabbed his clothes. He was heading west. We gave him leave yesterday so that he could attend his fiance's graduation from Frostburg State. Tragically died in a crash in Allegheny County, almost making it home. He was a popular deputy within the police academy. The Garrett County Sheriff's Office is suffering greatly. My police academy staff is suffering greatly. They liked him an awful lot. He was a leader within the police academy. He leaves behind a 1-year-old and a 7-year-old daughter. He's from Brewston Mills, which is just across the line as you go out I-68 from Garrett County, but was residing in Oakland. So my police academy staff and recruits, the rest of them, and myself will take a trip out to Western Maryland next week to lay him to rest. So they're going through an awful lot. I've been doing this for 35 years. Unfortunately, I've buried troopers and police officers, and having a police academy recruit like this, never dealt with this before. So it's a strange time for us, but I appreciate you guys getting back to me and the responses that I got. We kind of somewhat quietly wanted to grieve up at the old high school ourselves, and we're doing that, and then we'll get back to normal, and that deputy would want us to do that. I've spoken with the deputy or the sheriff in Garrett County, and ironically he was just sworn in last week, so he's a new sheriff dealing with a tragedy like this, and he's been leaning on myself and the sheriff to the east of him, which is Craig Robertson in Allegheny County. So we'll help him through it, and then we'll keep pushing forward. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to mention Corey McElroy's name, and it's somebody that we should say without mumbling and remember him. He not only sacrificed and wanted to sacrifice and take care of his community, but he took care of his country also as a U.S. Marine. So
Appreciate it. May his memories be a blessing
thank you.
to him and the family.
And then, so we're here to discuss the MAT program in the jail, and I'll let Maureen go in a second. But to your point, Commissioner Guerin, my deputies 2 weeks ago made a traffic stop on South Pleasant Valley Road and seized, almost a half a kilo of fentanyl. So to your standards, it would be enough to kill every man, woman, and child in Carroll County. And it was destined for the streets of Carroll County. It was a trio from upstate Pennsylvania that was down here. At some point, I presume they were going to distribute it, but it was a traffic stop, a routine traffic stop by my deputies, and a canine scan. So it was one of my canine dogs that alerted on the vehicle, and a search yielded a substantial amount of fentanyl that would have had no doubt tragically killed quite a few people in this community. And you're right, the amount that it takes to do the damage is so small. So there's a lot of things that go into fighting the opioid issue in this county. Enforcement's one of them. But what Maureen, myself, and my staff are going to talk about is another part that we've got to participate in, and that's the treatment part of it. And Commissioner Rothstein knows the staff behind me. You guys have met some of these folks, but you'll see them an awful lot over the next 4 years. But Mrs. McDonald, most of you know, is pretty much my right-hand person when it comes to all the budgeting, financing, logistics in my office. Behind me is Colonel Strine. He's the warden for the jail. Next to him is Major Harmon. He's the assistant warden for the jail. And then Captain Stour, who headed the program that we're going to talk about, is one of my operations captains within the jail. So with that, Maureen, I guess, do you read the, okay, after you?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Yes, the Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, is requesting your approval to add additional services to the current contract with Prime Care Medical for nursing staff and related expenses at a cost of $150,122.11 annually. Funding has been approved through a grant awarded to the county, so no additional funds should be required. And I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff and Vicki for any questions you may have.
So I'll go through and just kind of highlight a number of things. So there's a January of 23 mandate that was set by legislature to make sure that every local jail in the state of Maryland has a medically assisted treatment program, a MAT program. And this request is one of the final pieces that gets us to that January 23 mandate. And we're already up and running with MAT in the jail. This is a final request so that a contract can be put in front of Prime Care, who is our medical provider. I know a couple of you went through the jail and did a tour, and Prime Care has been our medical provider, I believe, almost since I became the sheriff, and they're an outstanding group, and they have a track record with the MAT program, not only in the state of Maryland, but they have a lot of jails throughout the country, but primarily in Pennsylvania. And this contract helps with the additional personnel to oversee the program. As Maureen said, my office applied for a grant through the Maryland Opioid Operations Command Center. It's a 2-year grant. It's a $500,000 grant. The previous board approved that grant, and it was a part of the legislation that came through last year. And one of the things that's interesting is that the state mandated that local jails have an MAT program, a treatment program, but the state level and the state correctional institutes, they didn't mandate an MAT program. And so the burden was then put on the locals and our jail here. And the $500,000 grant is a 2-year grant. Whether it covers the entirety of the cost to do the program, that remains to be seen. And Vicki continues to speak with our analyst, Heidi, on how that grant money is being spent. And there were some logistics that had to simply be set up. But the money does pay for a number of logistics, including supplies that we needed. For example, we're bringing drugs into a jail that we've fought for decades to keep out. So there's got to be high-level security when it comes to safes and the ability to secure those substances so that that nobody gets to them. So we do have supplies that are helping with that. I will continue to communicate with our delegation to Annapolis, which I've already have, and encourage them also to work with other delegations to Annapolis to make sure that this program continues to be paid for, whether it's through grants or supplemental funding. It is in the law that they are required to continue to help us with this program. So we'll see if they put their money where their mouths are, but I'm going to lobby and make sure that happens, because it is an unfunded mandate that was put on. Well, it's a grant-funded mandate that was put on us, but I don't want it to become an unfunded mandate past 2 years. So we're going to put the pressure where it needs to be. Just so you understand, when it comes to the MAT program, currently we have 10 inmates that are under MAT now. The state estimates that about 30% of all inmates in local jails would fall under the MAT program or be MAT qualified. So how it works is when an individual comes into my jail, they are charged with a crime, and then they go before a district court commissioner. If that commissioner decides to incarcerate them, put a bond on them, and then they are remanded to us, within 24 hours we're required to have a full workup on them for medical and psychological issues. So they will go and sit with one of the doctors or nurses and go through a full screening before they're actually put into a housing unit. Within that screening, if it's learned that they are under the care or supervision of a doctor, and they've previously been doing MAT, whether it's methadone or Suboxone, one of those drugs, then they will go into the program, continue additional screening. If it's someone that we've locked up, for example, that we believe is someone addicted to heroin, if their screening indicates that they would be someone that would participate in the MAT program, there's additional screening, and then they would likely go into the program, and then they would be supplied one of 3 methods that we're required to supply. And so that's being done currently within the jail, so we're up and running and moving rather quickly with that. Captain Stour behind me is the one that's been heading it up for my office. He knows far too much about this now than he ever has, but he is extremely intelligent, has done a wonderful job working with Prime Care and the other folks to make sure that this program is as solid as it can. In fact, he's done such a good job that other local jails are calling us and asking us how he set it up so that they can model this and try and get in before that 23 mandate. With that, if you guys have any questions, again, this is already funded. It's something that we've got to come to you before in order to get the contract signed. But as soon as you vote, then Prime Care will be notified, and we'll start moving forward with the nurse for the program.
Any questions? There's capital cost associated with this, and then there's ongoing
Correct.
costs, correct?
So the capital cost would be
Like you said, like a
one-time
save
cost.
for,
So,
yeah, one time,
So
right.
that was all taken care of through the grant, and then the ongoing cost would likely be, besides the nurse,
Right.
which the grant will take care of for this year, the medications that are supplied, and then we also have security for the nurse as they administer the medication. So that's a deputy that's generally on overtime that takes care of that cost. This grant technically is designed to take care of that cost for 2 years. Do I believe that it will? No. I believe at some point through Mrs. McDonald and Heidi that we're going to have to look at this as the end of the grant starts to take place and decide how this gets paid for. So
Right, and that's the big,
it's the unknown. Yeah.
challenge is, when you buy a horse, cheapest part about the horse is buying a horse, It's the ongoing costs. It's the what happens after.
I'll give you an example. If every inmate that would qualify for one particular drug decided they wanted that particular method, we'd be broke in 2 months. It would be difficult to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's something that we've got to discuss, and Mrs. McDonald will work through as the numbers come in.
Yeah.
And it all really is. There's a per diem that is paid for everybody that's on the program, and then there's costs. It's really the cost of the medications that are going to be that deciding factor as we start moving forward into the second year, and seeing where we land at the end of it. It's just a matter of documenting and making sure that we keep track of our 500,000. It may not be enough. It may be enough. I can't tell you right now.
Is there
It depends on-
potential to go after more grants?
I think there's been grants that have already been gone after by one of our providers that's helping within the jail, the Maryland Treatment Center. But as far as going after grants for this, I think that's it. I think that, and the reason I've got to really put a lot of pressure on delegation and other delegations throughout the state is to make sure that this lands in a budget somewhere, so that it was a mandate, and everybody's affected by it. Every jurisdiction that has a jail, regardless of where you're from, is affected by it. And there's other jails that got far more people that need this program than I may have. So it affects every delegate and senator that's down in Annapolis. So it behooves them to work with their local jurisdiction to make sure money lands in the budget for it.
I agree. It's just the challenge is landing in our budget as opposed to the state.
Well, I mean,
because once the
fortunately for
grants-
this, because the grant came from the Opioid Operations Center, I mean, we were able to apply for it, and it was earmarked, basically, this is how much you could apply for, and they gave us, I believe,
The max.
exactly the max
We
of what
asked for
we.
the max.
Yeah, we asked for the max, they gave it to us.
And we do have the ability to adjust the categories, and that's with working with Heidi. Like, once we start seeing the costs, which category
Right.
do we rearrange, manage, reallocate
Right.
to stretch the grant as much as possible?
Okay. Okay, are there any questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the cost to add additional nursing staff and related expenses to Prime Care Medical Incorporated in the amount of $150,122.11.
Second.
Second.
I got a motion in a couple of seconds, even with the 11 cents.
Where's that come from, you ask?
Any further discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a great holiday. Thank you,
Absolutely.
guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, Ms. Hobbs. I don't think this is gonna be a very long conversation.
I know, but I like the 11 cents. And in accounting and finance, we like down to the penny, so.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm here before you to request that you reappoint myself as the tax collector for Carroll County. According to the state code, it requires that the tax collector be appointed by the governing body of each county on or before each January 1st of the new year. So basically, just to give you a little background, what does the tax collector do? Basically, we're required to collect the taxes on behalf of the state, all the county taxes, and the municipality. And then we are required to remit the taxes to the state and municipalities by the 10th of the following month.
So if not you, then who?
Whoever you would like,
Okay.
but I'm more than happy to do it.
Board of County Commissioners hereby appoint, or action, or a motion that the Board of County Commissioners hereby appoints Jennifer D. Hobbs, Comptroller, to serve as appointed tax collector for the calendar year 2023. And the appointment is effective January 1st, 2023.
Second.
I got a motion, I got a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about installing some lights over at Cape Horn Park. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Good morning. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Recreation and Parks, requests your approval for the installation of lighting at Cape Horn Park in the total amount of $490,024 to Eastern Sales and Engineering Company Incorporated. This purchase being made through a Charles County contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the approved budget and no additional funds should be necessary.
Morning, Commissioners. Cape Horn Park is a 50-plus acre park in Manchester, primarily used by the North Carroll Rec Council. The park has 3 multi-purpose fields used for soccer and lacrosse, a softball diamond, and a baseball diamond. This is athletic field lighting that will be going in on 1 and eventually 2 of the soccer fields that are there. It is LED lighting, so it's energy efficient lighting, also has much less impact on the surrounding community. That's about all I have to offer you, unless you have any questions for me.
Just a general question. So when did this process start? You have a capital budget in 5-6 years, and when did this start?
This started several years back. It was not a full 5 or 6 years back because we've had some additional funds come from the state. So originally the project was 6 years out, but it's actually been able to be moved forward, and we'll have some additional funding coming next year as well.
The funding from the state is designated for specific activities, correct?
Correct. And actually this particular project, this phase of this project, is being funded by impact fees and program open space. And I take that back, not program open space, I'm sorry. It's local park and playground infrastructure funds. And you're correct that they can only be used for park-related projects.
And because that's an important part of it. I mean, this is a huge price tag, almost $500,000. We're looking at lighting. I was like, wait a second, with all these other priorities we have in this county, and we're looking at 500. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like this and I appreciate this, but this is always the challenge when the community sees, I want this or I want that, but money is designated and designed to go into certain places, and we do not have the choice to put it somewhere else. We only have the choice of not using it. And
Correct.
why would we not use it when it's being provided to us, but, you know, sometimes there's a lot of sticker shock, you know, when I see this, and that doesn't go away, so.
No.
Yeah, I too am struck by the cost. An issue in District 4, where I am, is always the lighting and what time of day the lights are on and how they affect local residents. Can you explain in this particular case how that situation played out or is playing out, and what the lights mean in terms of how long can they stay on and what the usage is of the park?
We don't have a hard and fast curfew typically, because most of these programs are youth-related programs at Cape Horn Park and some of our other sites. Generally, the lights are off by 10 o'clock. Carroll County Sports Complex is an aberration to that, because we have adult activities and tournaments bringing people in from outside Carroll County. But generally, 10 o'clock, the lights are off. Also, with the new technology and the LED lighting, this same company recently relamped the sports complex, and what used to have some major spillage of light into the surrounding area no longer occurs. The lights are incredibly focused right down on the playing field.
Thank you.
Okay, it's in your neck of the woods. Well, it's in your neck of the woods. You want to give a motion?
Yep. I move that the Board of Commissioners award the installation of lighting at Cape Horn Park to Eastern Sales and Engineering Company, Inc. in the amount of $490,024.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion, I got a second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All right. Thank you very
very
much.
much. Okay, let's talk about purchasing a 4,000-gallon vacuum tank. Yeah, besides the sticker shock, you'll also see the going from lighting to a vacuum tank and everything in between. So, go ahead.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with Fleet Management, requests your approval to award the purchase of a 4,000-gallon vacuum tank from Technology International Incorporated in the amount of $86,360. The Office of Procurement advertised for bids and received only one response. This amount is within the approved budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
As you can see, we have some pictures of this item today. This picture details what a vacuum tank is in its entirety. As the background states, this tank is used for the collection, transportation, and disposal of leachate that is collected at the northern landfill. Also, I want to point out on this picture, as the description labels the tank as a mobile tank or a non-fixed tank, that's because it is not permanently fixed to the truck. It is mounted to the skid platform underneath, and then is pulled up on the rear of the truck, so it can be mounted to multiple vehicles within the fleet. The next set of pictures we have, these pictures are actually of the tank that are currently in the fleet that we're looking to replace. It's a 1997 unit, and I hope the pictures illustrate the amount of corrosion and rust that have accumulated on this unit. One major upgrade with the tank that we are requesting approval to purchase is that it will be constructed of stainless steel material, so that will mitigate any concerns that come with the rust and corrosion, especially on the safety aspect of the unit. The new tank has an ETA of about 6 months. Upon arrival of that new unit, we will decommission this one and look to sell it through auction. And with us today is the Bureau Chief of Solid Waste, Mr. Engel. He can provide a more scientific definition of what leachate is and how crucial this vacuum tank is for daily operations.
If you all want to hear it, and good morning, it's very good to be here for the first time in front of this group. As Reed had said, the purpose of this tank is really to collect and haul leachate from the landfill either to the Westminster septic facility at the Westminster City Wastewater Plant or to Baltimore County as a backup. About 85% of it goes to Westminster, the rest goes to Baltimore. Also, as Reed had said, the new tank coming in will be stainless steel. As you can see, regular good old steel, even though it could be treated, painted, and such, is not a good long-term answer for hauling the materials that come out of a landfill. This tank in particular as well has had multiple repairs over the years. It's, again, a 1997 version. Just a few years ago, we disposed of a 1989 truck that we probably put more money into than I'd like to think about, and well extended its real useful life. This tank, because of the 6-month delay, we are performing a few minor repairs to it to make sure that it is safe to use for when we do need to use it over the next 6 months. Because we have 3 in the fleet, tanks in the fleet, plus a hard-mounted tank on a truck, so a total of 4, this is really going to be a backup, for the next 6 months. We will not use it unless we absolutely have to. If Mother Nature throws us some curves and we get a lot of water out of the landfill, then it will be used. Otherwise, it'll be good enough to get us through until the next tank comes into play. I'm not sure if this board has heard, but recently there was an incident at the septage facility. One of our local septage haulers had an accident where the back end, where that hatch is, blew off the back of their truck while they were unloading material. Their employee was hurt pretty badly. It's just one of those examples of why, in these situations in particular, pressure vessels, we need to keep them up, maintained. We need to keep the fleet current as much as we can. It's a safety issue as much as it is, operational efficiency issue.
So, Cliff, you said you have not come in front of us yet. So have you met the gentleman yet?
I've met Commissioner Kyler, Commissioner Vigliotti a couple of times, not the other two, unfortunately.
If you can share just, I want to say Reader's Digest version, your
Cliff Notes,
your Cliff Notes of Cliff, background and roles, responsibilities here.
Certainly.
Because they come into play.
Again, Cliff Engel. Professionally, I have a bachelor's in environmental engineering from Temple University in Philadelphia. Very proud of that. That's my hometown. Get to wear the Eagles gear around here. Hopefully, no Commanders fans in the audience. I'm sorry, but sorry for Carson Wentz. But right out of school, got into the waste industry. My background with environmental engineering is water and wastewater, so that's really what I was going to be doing. However, got into the waste industry 34 years ago as an engineer, and it was like putting a fish hook in my mouth. It has become a passion. Spent 21 years in the private sector, both as an engineer and a facility manager. Upon coming to the public sector, which actually was Carroll County in 2008 and 9, in this position, I left and regretted it ever since. Had the opportunity to come back 3 years ago and jumped on it. We have a wonderful team, very dedicated team, long-serving team, a wonderful county to work in and be a part of. So I'm hoping to bring all that engineering, all of that facility management, department management experience here to really make a difference, to try to make a difference and make an improvement. That's our overall goal. Efficiency is cost effectiveness, of course, but it's to make a difference and really serve the residents and businesses of the county as best we can.
I'd say just my personal professional opinion, we are blessed to have Cliff and folks like him on the team. Just the selflessness and dedication in getting things done. Big job, big job with a lot of responsibility that affects our community. So, yeah.
One gentleman who could not be here
Commissioner
today.
Weaver introduced us and said the same thing.
Okay.
So he got my check then, I guess, okay. Well, you have one gentleman who could not be here today. Dwight Amos is our landfill manager. Dwight's a little under the weather. Dwight's been with the county for 42 years in the solid waste department. He's worked his way up from lowest level up to being our solid waste manager. When he retires in a year or two, it's going to be a very difficult job to replace that gentleman. But a lot of this, again, it's a team. It's not, I appreciate Commissioner Rothstein's words, but it is the team and the dedication of that team. Everybody out there, we have folks that have been there for 6 months. We have folks that have been there for 42 years. It's a wonderful group. They mesh well. And again, their goal too, service the customer. And that's the residents and businesses of the county.
So I have two related questions, if I might, and I apologize if I missed the information already. Do we have any idea about the lifespan of the new tank, and do we have any idea about how much time is left on the existing tanks that we have?
Okay. Including this one, or because this one, again, we're doing repairs to get it through for the next few months.
I'm sorry, yeah. So eliminate the one that we're talking about today, but the new one coming in, what's the perceived lifespan on that? And then the ones that we still have that are not being replaced, what is left on there?
Okay.
Thank you.
The two that are, I'll start with the two that we already have. One is a 2008 model, one is a 2017. So they've been in the fleet for a little bit of time. The picture that Reed showed initially was the 2017 tank. So the one coming in will be similar, except it'll be in stainless. Given that it'll be stainless, probably 15 years, give or take a little bit, is a good lifespan. Keep in mind the atmosphere, the environment of a landfill and the material that we generate, the leachate that we generate, is very caustic. It's not pool water or dust control water. It's nasty stuff. So if the goal is 15 years, we will try to get to that. If it turns out it's sooner, we'll change the specs to not have it be that short. But that is our goal in our fleet management plan, which Reed has helped us with. We have an extensive vehicle and equipment replacement plan. 15 years is the goal.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. I'll move the Board of Commissioners award the purchase of 4,000-gallon vacuum tank in a total amount of $86,360 to Technology International Incorporated.
Second.
I got a motion and got a second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks. Okay, let's talk about Charles Carroll Furniture. Charles Carroll Community Center Furniture.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Building Construction, requests your approval to purchase furniture for the Charles Carroll Community Center from Duron Incorporated in the amount of $47,600.41. This purchase is being made through the Mid-Atlantic Purchasing Team contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the approved budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be before the four of you that I am not aware of. Obviously, I've been before Commissioner Rothstein beforehand. My name is Kirk Engel, Project Manager with the Bureau of Building Construction. With me is John Bowers, who's the Bureau Chief of Building Construction. The Bureau of Building Construction is here before you today to request board approval for the furniture purchase at the currently being constructed Charles Carroll Community Center. The cost for the furniture is in the amount of $47,641. The furniture will be purchased through Duron Furniture Solutions. The cost of the furniture is within project's budget, and therefore no additional funds are required. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Just a general question about what kinds of furniture.
Various seating, vestibule type seating for the entrance area going into the gymnasium, tables, chairs for the two multi-purpose rooms, kind of a lounging type seating environment where there's two sofas, a couple chairs, a couple USB hubs within the tech room, and obviously the front office. There's going to be a credenza and two desks on either side of the wall. So,
Thank you.
Yep. And this is something that has been discussed with Parks and Rec because we are going to be turning this over, obviously, to them to manage the facility once construction is complete and we turn it over. So we spoke with Lisa Carroll and also Jeff Deggetts on this as well, and everybody was in agreement as to what was to be purchased.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, for the rest, is everybody either and or aware and are comfortable with what's going on with Charles Carroll Community Center?
Well, I do have a general question. It might not be a fair one, and you can get back to us at a later date. But I've been tracking the community center for the last couple of years, and I would just be curious to know what the cost was when we started out, and what the cost is going to be when we open the doors and cut the ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have that information with you, that's great. But if you don't, I can get it from you at a later date. I understand there's a delta there. I'd like to know what it is for future reference as we entertain and debate future projects such as these.
Sure.
We can probably address that at this point in time. The project initially was bid, and our Bureau presented those costs to the then sitting board. And that board decided to lower the funding that they were going to support the building. I want to say it was somewhere in the magnitude of $3.5 million. That was before the project was rebid. So we went out, rebid in 2021, and those numbers came in about $2.5 million higher than the 3.5 million. So again, it was competitively bid to the construction industry. After we reviewed all the contracts, we narrowed down our contractor of choice and came before the board to ask for additional funding to move forward with the project, which again was that 3.2 million. So the overall project budget, do you have that figure handy?
It's a 7 point.
Yeah, so the overall project budget is now $7,350,000. And we are, from a percentage standpoint, what would you say percentage-wise complete? 85?
Yeah, about 80%, I would say.
About 80%. And we're still within our existing budget. We're very closely monitoring our change orders, working diligently with the contractor to make sure we're getting the best value when we in fact do get a change order. But and then as part of that overall funding, we did receive some amount of grant money from the state in the amount of $250,000.
Thank you.
Definitely a fair question because, as these gentlemen know, I was concerned every time a change order was being put in place and how numbers kept changing on us. Understanding the requirement and need is one thing, but not getting, the pricing down and getting the change orders became challenging, at least for me. So no, definitely good question. So
hopefully we answered that to your.
No, I appreciate that. Again, if he hadn't had the numbers, I wasn't gonna agree. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Just a quick follow-up question to the previous one. I know you mentioned it was competitively bid. Obviously, change orders and a variety of things probably caused that increase in total cost. Just out of curiosity, and you may be able to answer this and maybe you can't today in depth, in which you can get back to us later. I was just curious though, what do you attribute the large increase in price to, as to why we went from 3.5 or whatever it was to now 7.3 million overall?
A lot of it had to do with the timing of when it was bid. The construction industry was facing some pretty significant challenges in terms of material, both in terms of cost of material, shipping, availability, production, labor costs, supply chain, all affected the overall construction industry as a whole. So that played a part of why those numbers did in fact increase.
I realize no one has a crystal ball to know where we were headed with the supply chain issues and everything else we're all facing. And I'm just more or less making a comment, not really asking, I guess, a question, but I have to kind of wonder from a economic and fiscal standpoint if we would have been better off maybe just kind of putting this project on pause and kind of letting it play out versus continuing to where it's doubled in cost. Like I said, just a comment, not really a question.
Just keep in mind, though, the project, when it was first proposed and building construction came to the board at the time, this was 2 boards ago, the cost estimate from us was over $5 million. So the board didn't fund it at that level. And so I like to think of it really as, yeah, the cost did increase, but I see it more from like the 5 million to the 7 million rather than the 3.5 million.
No, I understand that. I was just curious because I know the initial discussion to the folks in that community was we were going to put in a pole barn, and then it sort of amalgamated into this much larger project. And, you know, it's many, many millions of dollars to our taxpayers, which, as we all know, we've got everything from fire, EMS to the school system and Blueprint to fund. So it's just, you know, I think it's something we need to kind of keep a really strong eye on moving forward as to how we look at these kind of projects.
Absolutely.
But thank you.
And there's no conceivable circumstance where you'd come back and say the cost of furniture is going to be more than we would potentially be allocating today. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Yes, Duron has a bid with the county, so it's the lowest pricing that we can get.
Okay. Motion?
Motion to approve the purchase of furniture for the Charles Carroll Community Center to Duron Incorporated in the amount of $47,600.41.
Second.
I got a motion, I got a second. Any further discussion? Very good dialogue and questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and happy holidays to you all.
Happy
I
holidays.
apologize, just real quick. Have you all met the commissioners yet? Just, if you haven't, Reader's Digest version, kind of like the Cliff Notes of what's
Cliff.
going on, of Cliff. But you don't need to talk about Cliff.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Kirk mentioned, my name's John Bowers, Bureau Chief with Building Construction. Have been with Carroll County government a little over 2 years. Have a political science degree from UMBC and a Master's of Science degree in real estate development from Johns Hopkins University. Have spent my entire career in some form of either vertical or horizontal construction, and have really enjoyed my time here at the county. It's been very rewarding. We have a lot of exciting and challenging projects and work with a really great team. So it's just a pleasure to meet you face to face in this setting.
It's a pleasure return. Thank you.
Thank you.
And like I said, my name's Kirk Engel. I've met Commissioner Vigliotti briefly at a couple of community meetings that we had for Charles Carroll and so forth as we were trying to get this up and running into construction. Graduated from Frostburg State University with a education degree, and as most degrees that are happening out there nowadays, they're not going in the field in which they got a degree in, unfortunately. But out of college, I did teach for a brief time in Baltimore County. Kind of thought that wasn't really my thing. I was in construction in and out with my oldest brother growing up. Was something, a passion I always had, and so forth. So I got back into it. Became a project manager with Carroll County Public Schools for a brief time, and then left that, and then went out into sales. Did very well in sales, but as my kids were growing up and I was missing some little things here and there, you know, income and all that kind of stuff wasn't an overriding factor in my mind at all. It was about family and having time to spend with them and so forth. So got back into the county, worked in utilities for several years, and then I transitioned over into building construction once that position opened up. So I've been there for several years as well. So
Cool.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, just again, we're blessed. It's a team sport, and we got the right people on the team, doing a lot of heavy lifting, that are one deep in many cases.
Yes.
So
Yes,
appreciate it, gentlemen.
You're
Have a
quite
very
welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Happy Hanukkah and Merry
Have a good
Christmas.
holidays,
to you.
everybody.
Happy holidays.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're at time. Let's do some open admin. Is there anything for open admin? Roberta, do you have?
I do. So Mr. Kyler mentioned the welcome open house kind of event we had 2 weeks ago, I guess. And I had a conversation, lovely conversation with Dr. Janskin from McDaniel College, and they are establishing a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, and they want the they have to have some, I guess, permission from the Maryland Higher Education Committee or Commission, and they would like the board's support in establishing that. So I have drafted a letter of support for you to sign if you're so willing, and it's in your packets.
Absolutely. Did we add the Veterans Center?
No.
So the Veterans Center that's going to be built in Carroll County is going to be about 140 beds, assisted living. That's going to require about 180 employees, many of them nurses. So I've spoken to Dr. Ball about that in the community college, but this is also another good reason to promote nursing, in the community. So just thought I'd throw that out there. So, okay.
That's it.
Out of curiosity, and I was just thinking about this, and I should have brought this up earlier when the sheriff was here, should we send some kind of letter of condolence or a card or something to the family of the deceased?
We can. I mean,
If we want to. I mean, that's fine. We can do that. Okay. Sure. Probably send it, to the sheriff out there, and,
we'll get some.
so he can distribute it. Yeah.
Thank you.
There was something else.
You want to ask it?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You have anything else?
Nope.
I did, but I forgot. Anything for open admin?
Nothing, no.
Sugar, I can't remember. Okay, let's go to calendars.
You have.
What?
You have closed minutes to approve.
Oh, I
also,
apologize. We
and
do?
I don't know if you want to ask if there's any public comment.
Okay, let's, yeah.
Sorry.
Wait, we have closed minutes? I don't have closed minutes in here. Nope.
No.
I apologize. Chris, do we have anybody on the line?
We do not have anyone on the line, sir.
Okay, thank you. I knew that, but, Roberta just wanted to make sure. So, I do not have closed minutes.
I forgot to put them
Are
in
we
there.
supposed to have closed minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be in there, but I forgot to put them in there.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, let's just take a second look at the closed minutes. Were they from last week's discussion? Okay. What was I thinking?
Now you give you time to think of what you were thinking.
Was it holiday oriented?
I don't know.
Well, what my mother always said, if you can't remember, it wasn't that important. But I can't say that. I don't know what you were thinking, so I...
No idea.
It was a solution to
Probably
nuclear
something
fission.
pithy against our lawyer.
kind of
That'd be
important.
pretty important.
Well, the question is, who has the better tie on today? Is it you or is it the lawyer?
Well, mine's got a cat with hats, and I got Hanukkah socks on, so I got
Speaking
it
of ties,
all covered.
why is Commissioner Rothstein, of all people, the only one wearing a Christmas tie today?
I'm a festive type of guy. Just saying.
That's directed at more at that.
Yeah.
I think he's making a statement about wearing ties. I think that's what's happening.
You make a good point, though. Is this about the nurse? Oh, okay, yeah.
Retirement certificate too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I apologize. Is that correct? Did you vote in favor?
Yes,
You did? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
yes. To close the meeting.
What was that?
The meeting to go, the motion to go into
Oh,
close.
got it,
Yeah,
got it,
yes,
got
I did.
Don't worry, Ed. Whatever it is, you'll remember at 10 o'clock tonight.
I don't know. Okay, I need a motion to approve the closed minutes from last week, from the 15th of December.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for the 15th of December closed minutes.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Now you can do agendas. Now you can do agendas.
Okay, and we already said that there's nothing for open admin, so agendas, this should take very long. Monday, the county is closed in observance of Christmas, which is the 25th. We have no outside meetings for that following week. The Tuesday through Saturday and Sunday, Commissioner Guerin gives the New Year's proclamations, his podcast. On the second week, January 2nd, we are closed in observance of New Year's Day. On Tuesday, January 3rd through the 5th is the Maryland Association Counties Winter Conference being held down in Cambridge, and Commissioner Gordon, Guerin, Kyler, and I will be in attendance. Through Friday, through the 6th. Saturday, nothing scheduled, and I have the podcast on January 8th. That was relatively easy. Wanda, did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
And I don't know what the history's been, and it's weird how Christmas and New Year's hit. The office building is closing early tomorrow. Is there anything similar or anything for the 30th, or New Year's just considered? Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
It's up
if
to
you
us.
want- It's up to you. It's sort of dependent on how it falls. I asked the board about a month before whether they wanted to close half a day on the 23rd, give people time to get to family and friends. I didn't ask about the 30th because, I mean, yeah, is that the right day? Just because it's not quite the same.
But I mean, it's totally up to us.
Yep.
We can say December 13th should be off for everyone. It's a very good day, but just saying. Okay. Unless there's anything else to be shared, I need a motion to adjourn for the day and for 2022.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make that
Motion to adjourn.
It's like, come on. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Excuse me, don't you have the thing for Jenny Hall?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
We have admin after.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, okay. I got a motion, I got a second. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.